I've told my wife and friends that I think the things that are most important to me right now have been four things: compassion for others and for ourselves. We're all going through a collective sort of trauma, grief, PTSD, and we need to remember to be kinder to each other and to ourselves. Appreciation. I've been very appreciative of how lucky I am in many ways and how loved I am and how much I love and all the amazing things I've done in my home and my bed and my shower, because this has made me appreciate all of the things about my life even more. Love. I've been telling everyone that I care about, that I love them, because if we don't do it today, we might not get the chance tomorrow. So that's been very important for me. And also hope, because hope is what's going to get us through this.
My husband is a state trooper, and he already has enough to worry about and think about and deal with to ensure that he gets to come home at the end of the day. But these crazy times we're living in, there's no such thing as a work from home state trooper. So he's been coming home mentally and physically exhausted, and there's already enough to worry about as a law enforcement wife, but this has definitely added a new, deeper, complex level to all of the different things that we have to think about on a daily basis. He also is so concerned about bringing something home to his family. And so some days it's, don't hug me, don't get near me. I've been in a high-risk area. I need to be away from everyone for a little while. And it's been really hard.
What's most important to me right now during this epidemic is staying safe, and part of staying safe means staying healthy. So for a lot of creatives like myself, it's important to stay creative even if you don't necessarily have the work coming in, which I know a lot of my colleagues and friends are furloughed or kind of waiting for that next project to take off. And so part of my process for being creative is to draw, paint every day, at least a couple hours on anything I can, whether it's an iPad or paper. I'm a huge fan of making miniatures, which gives me kind of a sense of control and lets me create some worlds that help me look forward to the future and creating for other people again. And that's really helped keep me sane during all this.
So my favorite author is getting ready to release a book, and I'm so excited. Like when I tell you that I cannot verbalize the excitement that is coursing through my veins right now, I just can't. I'm so excited because this book is a part of a series of books that she released way back when I was a freshman in college. So the book got leaked and she just decided that she wasn't going to release it. So a lot of fans like myself have been waiting years, and I'm so happy that she picked the quarantine to release this book. The reason why is, I think for me, is because I'm a writer, and I actually look to my own characters for stability, just like to remind me of personal touch and conversation and being a friend and love and drama and action, just anything and everything that you can think of about being human. I put you writers have to put into their characters. So I'm really excited to read about somebody else's drama and not the drama that's being made up in my head.
Adjusting to this new normal, this new way of life that COVID-19 has forced us in, has been challenging, especially for someone like myself that suffers from anxiety and depression. It's been super challenging. But I'm blessed and fortunate enough to have my partner of 16 years here to help me get through it, and vice versa. We're here for each other. And our fur babies, of course, having to wake up and walk them and feed them gives us a sense of purpose, something we have to do. Gives a structure. Someone depends on you, you have to push through. As far as being here with my partner, I mean, we've been able to reconnect. I know after 16 years of sharing your life with someone, is there anything left to say? Well, it turns out there is, because we've thought we've shared stuff with each other that we haven't, but because we thought, we're discovering we haven't. So it's been really refreshing.
After months of being in isolation, I didn't think that my first large gathering would be a protest. But here we are. We're living through history. I didn't really know what to expect attending any of the protests, but I knew I had to be there. I've seen so much love and support, and I've seen my community come together countless times over the past few weeks, and it's truly inspiring. It really puts it into perspective that there is strength in numbers, and if we all work together, then we can achieve anything.
So it's been about 2 months that I've been quarantining in Virginia, where I'm from, with family. My fiance and I left New York City exactly 2 months to the day, right before things started to get really bad. We saw it coming. Things started shutting down. Broadway, our jobs were lost. And we just knew that it was better for us to get out. And it's been hard. This sense of displacement has been really difficult to adjust to on top of all the new normal. And I find that every day I could not do this without my fiance, Denver. I could not do this without him because there's such a camaraderie and partnership that comes naturally when you commit to somebody. But even when you're going through something like this, that could be really trying for a couple, it's really made us stronger and it's really held us together. And I could not love him more.
I am still working. I'm still working both of my full-time jobs on top of acting, which is my third full-time job. I'm extremely grateful that I'm still working, and that for me has been the biggest change, is that realization of the fact that sometimes hard work does pay off. I am a person whose childhood was wrecked by the Great Recession in 2009. My family lost everything emotionally and financially. And thinking that good things happen to good people and that hard work pays off has always just seemed too good to be true for me. It's like one of those things that I just don't want to get my hopes up for, which is funny because I'm an actor, so I'm like getting my hopes up for my whole life, essentially. But it's really hard to actually accept that all of the hard work that I do, and I will say that I am one of, if not the most hardworking person I know, that it pays off and that people want to help you, and that if you really need help, you can ask for it and it will come. I didn't realize until now how hard I've worked subconsciously to be sure that I will never be in a situation like my parents were in during the recession. I put away money, I save a lot, tons of things like that. I have a Roth IRA, I'm 24, and I put away 10% of my income into my savings. And yeah, the fact that I'm still working, I'm incredibly grateful. I feel guilty, I guess. But at the end of the day, I know that the reason that I'm still working is that I have worked so hard for a very long time. And it's actually paid off. I know that life isn't fair and that that's not the case for everyone. But for me, I'm just extremely grateful. That's what has changed, is recognizing that good things can happen, even when everything sucks.
I think the protests and demonstrations that have gone on in the last couple of weeks have been absolutely beautiful, and I'm glad to have taken part of them. I remember when I was a kid and I was 17, I had a cop pull a gun on me when I was walking home from my girlfriend's house in the middle of the night. It's one of the scariest moments of my life, and that was the first time that happened to me, but it would happen several more times throughout my life. And yeah, there's a lot of people who are angry. I mean, I'm angry. And, what do people expect? I think it's frustrating that people don't really understand the history of police brutality in this country, or the history of racial inequality. That would be something that should happen to improve the overall mindset of America, because it's sad what's going on right now, but it's long overdue in my opinion in some ways. I myself, what I try to do every day is just get up and be the change I want to see in the world. Stay positive. I find that if I do that, when I do that, it's very humbling because I'm not reactionary. I'm proactive in how I approach situations and circumstances in my life. So that's what I'll continue to do in doing my part.
So there was this girl I went to undergrad with who was always really sick, kind of mysteriously so. I didn't always know like what kind of chronic illness she had, but it was always just this talked about thing. Like there was this kind of cloud that enveloped her, and she was regarded as the sick one, the infirm person. And I had a dream about a week ago where she was there with me in a cafeteria, and you know, I still don't know why I haven't reached out to her in all of this. Maybe because I just think, well, I haven't talked in so long, and I don't know if she would think it's weird. But we were playing a game, and then she suddenly turns to me and says, "I think you would make a great grave digger." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because you understand life." And then she disappeared.
An absolute living hell. That's how I would describe living with a pre-existing condition during the global coronavirus pandemic. With folks like myself and folks with existing conditions much worse than mine, it's been a nightmare trying to get access to hospital care, treatment, and prescription drugs, all due to the fact that the medical community has been overrun by those seeking treatment for the coronavirus. How can you help? Please stay home and help flatten the curve so that myself and folks with conditions much greater than mine can get the much needed attention medically that we need. Thank you, and be safe.
This has been a difficult time. A lot of people have really bad anxiety right now, and because of that anxiety, some people think that they have COVID, but they don't. It's just anxiety, and there's just like a lot of pain in the world right now. And I feel like this time was needed because a lot of people, including myself, needed to reflect and realize certain things. And I feel like now is like a time where we are able to understand and grow. You know, because it's like there's literally nothing else to do. Like when you get off work, you know, when you're done exercising, when you're finished eating, when you're finished spending family time, like when you're finished reading, like what else is there? You know, like there's no excuse right now. You know, you can't go meet up with people. Well, I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. So it's just like, work on yourself. I know it's hard, and I know, like, we don't want to face the ugliest beasts that live within us, but we have to. You know, I recently learned that through pain, we release, you know, and through happiness, we receive. So if you don't ever want to cry or lose someone in your life, you know, by like removing them because they're not good for you or they're harming you in some kind of way, like you have to do that. Like you just have to accept that is going to happen, you know, and allow the pain to let you release all of that baggage that's weighing you down. And then you'll have room to accept other things. Like you'll be able to receive happiness. You can't receive happiness with all that pain just hanging in there. Like you have to address it, face it in a healthy way. Some people need professional help. I get professional help. I have an amazing therapist. But it's very necessary. Like do the work. And I feel like COVID has given us the time to do some deep reflection. And I feel like the brutalization that police have been doing, and it's not all cops. I want to say that it is not all cops. Not all cops are bad, but we're going to focus on the cops that are bad right now. The same way, like Black Lives Matter, you know, we're being targeted right now. So we're going to focus on the people that are being targeted. Like, yes, all lives are important. We all know this. But we're going to focus on the lives that are being told they aren't important by being murdered in the street for 8 minutes. You know, we're going to focus on that.
As we approach month 4 of this quarantine and maybe see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, we really have two choices to come out of this situation, either smarter than we were or just as ignorant. At this point in our history, especially with the invention of the internet, we should be enjoying the second great age of enlightenment, but instead we're mired in the age of misinformation and heading quickly toward our second dark age. Misinformation comes in all forms, and it would be too easy and too short-sighted to blame it all on Fox News and CNN and Republicans and Democrats. We need to sit down and have a real conversation on why people are so easily misled, why people are so gullible, and why is there a new term in our lexicon called alternative facts. The true root of this misinformation is engraved in religion. We teach the very young and the very vulnerable to accept fable over fact and in turn apply this non-logic to everyday situations. Religion teaches people to question facts in history, science, and what they actually witness in their day-to-day lives. People trust the likes of Kenneth Copeland over the world's leading scientists. As a public school educator with over a quarter of a century in the classroom, I've watched students argue with science teachers and walk out of class at the first mention of dinosaurs. For years, I've argued that indoctrinating children with religion is actually a form of abuse. We need to have this conversation or we're going to remain heading towards these dark ages. So stay safe, everyone. Stay healthy. That is, if you believe that this pandemic is real.
It's definitely been challenging for me to kind of stay centered during this period of time. There just seems to be so much going on and so much misinformation that I find that I have to meditate in order to just clear my brain, hit the reset button, and be able to think again critically and clearly about what's going on in the world. I've created a labyrinth in my backyard so that I can go and walk that path in the morning when my head is still clear and just sort of set my intention about what I want my day to be like. And I find that periodically during the course of the day, I'm just taking little breaks to just, breathe and stay centered and think, just letting my life flow and not feeling like I'm constantly in reaction to things that are going on around me. So meditating twice a day has become a critical part of my practice.
When I think of 2020, I think about how I'm trying to be a good parent and how I'm trying to be a better person. For the parenting side, it's kind of easy. Normally as an artist, as an actor, as a filmmaker, I think I have this duality of chasing gigs, of chasing projects and trying to grow as an artist in that thing, and feeling that sometimes at odds with my kids. I can feel like I had a great day with them and did some things, and then log on to Facebook and see everybody booking stuff and feel like a failure there. Or I can be on a gig and feel like I'm missing out on my kids' lives, and I just want to be around them all the time. They're such a cool age. They're 7 and 10. And with COVID, it's been able to kind of laser focus that. There are no big acting gigs out there. And so there was this incredible need for someone to stay at home and be a homeschool teacher with them, and I was able to do that, and it was actually incredibly gratifying for me. It was kind of a relief. It was kind of some freedom. As a person, I think you have to grapple with with the Black Lives Matter movement, and I think the hard thing is how to engage with the people that don't get it, the people that can't say that Black Lives Matter, the people that are more incensed by somebody kneeling for the Pledge of Allegiance than they are for somebody being murdered. The people that think it's a total government conspiracy. I can't even get into that because it makes me want to go crazy. And the push between me in that is I want to be somebody that brings grace and truth to people. And then I read that and there is an anger and, man, I want to rip people to shreds. And I have to sit down and pray and try to get a point of grace and truth. Or sometimes just let it go. But yeah, I think trying to love people and love our kids, and I mean that's what we're trying to do every day, but it feels so heightened right now. And just trying to do my best.
This may sound a little bit different than what most people are experiencing, but for me, this pandemic has been a gift. A gift because as a mother of 2 grown children who have their own family, because I also have 4 grandchildren, they're on their own. My son, who had been touring with Cirque du Soleil with his wife and 2 children for almost 10 years, were rarely in town. And now they're back. They're back, and we are spending every single day together. And as a business owner who's also very busy, I don't have time to actually take care of them. So they're the one who are hosting me. So the connection has been unbelievable. And this is truly a gift.
So the most difficult thing in my situation has been trying to figure out my work situation in the future. I'm here in Florida doing live stunts and was actively planning on moving out to LA or Atlanta, trying to get into film and just kind of move things forward. But not only has this situation changed my timeline, obviously, but also the things that I'm thinking about and what's important to me, my priorities. I've got all my families out in Texas, and there's people that I'm worried about, but there's also things that I don't want to miss out on. My sister just had a baby. My wife and I are thinking of starting a family. So just trying to make plans for the future in a time like this has been stressful, but we're doing the best that we can. My wife and I get along great. We're having a blast together, and I had some time to grow a really stupid mustache. So we're doing the best that we can, and I hope everybody else out there is as well.
Yeah, I tried to ask myself if there's a silver lining here, if anything positive has come out of all this. And I think that remains to be seen. I think initially I was really optimistic that, you know, while we're all in this together, like our sense of community is going to explode. Our equities have been laid bare, 30 million Americans unemployed. Our systems aren't working for us. Surely we're all in the same boat, and there's an opportunity to change systemically and personally. And I think that still absolutely could happen. It could also be regressive. So I don't, TBD basically is what I think about the possibility of something positive coming out of this.
My parents mean the world to me. I absolutely adore my mom and dad, and I would do anything to keep them safe. And when this whole thing started, I just knew that it wasn't gonna be a 2-week thing. I was already planning long-term, and I wanted to make sure that I could keep them safe and home as much as possible. And keeping them home meant that it was gonna be up to me to be able to provide them with all the goods and groceries and things like that that they need on a daily basis. And it's worked out. We get to talk more throughout the week. I call them every day. We FaceTime almost every day. We watch Family Feud every day at 6 p.m. together virtually. It's been an interesting time, but I feel like we've definitely bonded together, and just knowing that I'm keeping them home and keeping them away from harm has really helped me kind of sleep at night. And that right there has been a very special thing.
I've always been a realist, not an optimist or a pessimist, but I see things for what they are. So when I hear people say we're in this together, I don't believe them, because we're not in this together. Because if we were, there wouldn't have been anti-Asian violence at the beginning of quarantine. There wouldn't be Black people still being killed by the police despite the huge Black Lives Matter movement. And we're tired. Black, Indigenous, people of color are tired. So we're not in this together. But what do we do now? Well, it's not what we do, it's what do you do? It's time for white people to do the work, because we've been trying for decades, for centuries, for you to listen. And it hasn't worked. And something has changed now. The world has changed. Now it's time for you to take the action, because we're exhausted. And that's real.